tonight's guests. Please join me in welcoming co-writer and director Leonardo Van Dijl and professional dance coach Patrick Mouratoglou. I feel like I'm at a weird angle. She's like looking right at me. She's yelling right in my ear.
Be nice to her, because not.
Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on a tense and timely film. I'd like to start at the beginning with Leonardo because this is your directorial debut, feature directorial debut, which is just shocking to me because it is so assured and has such a strong voice. What was the impetus or sort of like the initial spark that led you to want to tell this story?
Well, there was a quote from Toni Morrison where she said, if you want to read a book, but it hasn't been wrote, fuck, sorry, I'm just jet lagged. I didn't swear. So if you want to read a book, but it hasn't been written yet, then go write it. And I felt that, before silence got broken or something, like there will always be silence. And I thought that was interesting. I felt like it's a good approach to, I guess, bring a new angle to a narrative that is already, happening. Yeah. And, I guess, send the dialogue somewhere else, creates space, openness. And, and I think that today, Patrick is sitting next to me here or something, that's, for me, that's also that's almost that that embodies that intention or something. That we as society in that way, we should all, care for the well-being of Julie and her entire generation, and how, we can create a safe place for them. And that's, that is by applying safeguardingship. And that it's a holistic idea almost, we all should be part of that conversation and think in new ways to take care of each other, because ultimately a safer world for Julie will be a safer world for all of us.
Absolutely. Is this a world you knew well, the tennis world?
Well, I mean, I played tennis, but not, in any, it's very little league. And I just felt that, to bring the story that the world of sports was a very good arena. It's a metaphor for society in a way, and this movie talks about politics instead of bringing it in, I don't know, let's say, in a writer's room of a TV show. It was this is so much more visually appealing, and it brings it. I don't know. Also, it makes the story accessible. You can relate to it because many people play sports. But it was never the intention in that way, to say, look at this world of sports, such a dirty world, and all those, it's corrupted or something. That wasn't the intention. It was more if I do it in sports, maybe, I can use that approach to be hands-on, to be, in that way, invest in productivity, and, it's a world that is always, I guess, is trying to improve himself, because if you, by improvement, also the results will be better of an athlete. And that I like about it in a way, so that's why I went to do it in sports. Not to attack them, but more, I felt like it was a safe place to have this, silence of Julian.
And Patrick, you've coached such legends as Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka, who is actually an EP on the film. And I understand you're actually the inspiration for the good coach in the film.
Yeah, well, he doesn't know that yet.
You didn't know that?
So here comes the surprise. And am I allowed to? So when yesterday they called me and they said you were doing the interview, I said, wow, that's amazing, because you once did a show on Netflix, the 5 guidelines or something. You gave 5 tips to coaching and your experience and what you learned in it. And one of those tips was that you said, don't make it about you. And I found that so inspiring, not only for a coach, but also for me as a director, in that way that you always, good coaching is to always empathize with the athlete. Don't make it about yourself. When you go home, you can talk to your wife, or then it's about you. But while coaching coaching or something, don't do it. And so you can see it in the movie that Jeremy, in everything that he does, it's always, like making it about himself. It's always like, I feel this and I feel that in something, and Bucky never does it. And for the actors, like for Pierre, to, because, like you sometimes need to give guidance to an actor or something. And I was like, it's very simple. Don't make it about you, and watch on Netflix that episode with Patrick, and there you go. That's the briefing. Wow. So you see, like it's so for me insane to have you sitting here next to me, because you, in a way, like like even before I was aware about safeguarding, it was that little sentence or something that made a huge impact on me, not only in coaching, but as I said, also in how to direct actors, how to be careful for things or something. And that's like like if you make it about you, almost like that's a red flag. So thank you very much to be an inspiration for
wow. Did you have any idea?
No, I had absolutely no idea.
Wow, I'm sorry to spring it on you so casually. I just assumed you knew.
No, and I think it's very important what you said. And the movie, first of all, congratulations. The movie is really incredible because there is so much that we can imagine behind the silence. There is also so much that we can feel that she's trapped because she feels, that's how I felt it. Maybe it's not what, I think anyone can put behind the silence whatever he wants. But I felt that she was trapped because she felt, it was very complex what she was going through, that's why she couldn't talk. She thinks she needs him to progress, so that's why she's trapped. And yeah, he's very manipulative. As he's making it all about him, she's probably sure that without him she has no chance, and tennis is her life. So it's very stressful because it's terrible to see someone who's trapped in a situation that is extremely bad, extremely I don't even know the word, and she doesn't know what to do. And the only thing she can find is to just shut up. And about not making it about yourself, what I meant also when I said that is this job is about the player. It's about understanding the player, and a good coach compared to a bad coach that is able to forget completely himself in the process. It's not about how I feel about her forehand, it's about how she feels about it. It's not about how I feel on tennis court, it's about how the other one feels. So it's being able to put yourself in the shoes of the other one completely. So in order to do that, you need to forget even how you conceive tennis, because probably the other person conceives it completely differently, feels it differently. So it's very much a psychological thing. Of course, it's about the game also, but yeah, that's what it is. And that's why I think it's very difficult for ex-professionals to become coaches, because they have such a strong feeling about tennis. They played, they had the feeling in every situation. A lot of people think it's an advantage because they have gone through that. No, they have their own experience about that, and if they think that every player has the same one, it's not true. So in that sense, it's really forgetting yourself to feel for the other, and because you feel for the other, you're able to help the other.
It's so interesting because I watched, it might have been actually on Netflix, one of your talks, and you said that you believe in a kind approach, which you don't always hear of in sports, and that you always try to approach people with kindness. How did you develop that philosophy or method, especially in a world where it's all about competition against another person?
Yeah. There is sometimes, it's not easy to understand because you can be extremely kind and extremely demanding at the same time. Yes. And you have to be demanding because it's very competitive, and you have to take the best out of people. So if you let them do half of what they can do in terms of even quality, then you're not helping them. So you have to be extremely demanding. But having a kind eye is, you always have the choice to look at people the way you want. You can look at their flaws, or you can look at what is great in them, or what can become great tomorrow. And that's what I mean by the kind eye. And it's true for everything. It's true for the teachers at school. It's true for the coaches on the tennis courts. And whenever I ask a coach, and I often do, tell me about your player, the first thing I hear most of the time is, his problem is, as the first sentence. So, talking about can I, yes, there are always things to solve. That's our job. We are problem solvers. If the player is number 100 and not number 1, it's because there are a lot of things to solve. But they don't even think about the positive thing to say about the player, they immediately jump to the problems. So that's the can I. The can I is, I'm going to look at you in what you can develop in your qualities. And yes, there will be problems along the way, but we'll solve them.
Oh, by the way, this was your first time seeing the movie tonight, right?
It is, yeah.
That's crazy to me. You just saw it and you just realized that you're kind of in it.
This I realized a few minutes ago.
Leonardo, can you talk about how you captured this world so authentically? I'm sure having Naomi helped, obviously, but you really seem to know the ins and outs of this very specific world.
I guess, yeah, because you look at it as empathy. During the process, I learned in a way, I guess more how much I am Julie, more than I tried to make Julie me. I always, the intention was it's her movie, and I am just here to service, her story, to obey to her laws. And it's almost like gradually removing myself out of it or something. It was really I needed to find a kind of tune here. But meanwhile, I also understood that, for example, for an athlete, they are in a way conditioned to always go over a certain limit. That's what they do in that way, it's always if it's here, then you try to get here, and and once you did that, then it's the next, and that's what also is your drive and your fuel, and that makes you going, and that's the strength, and at the same time, it's when you're working with somebody, you're in the wrong hands, it's your biggest weakness, and you can be crushed like that. And that's again why it's so important. That's indeed we we really create safe places for athletes to be in, to go over their limits in a safe place. Because it's, I feel sometimes again the conversation is almost you have to put boundaries and you have to do this and this and this. But that's something that you learn by getting older in that way. I still struggle with doing that in a way, because even with making a film, it's I want to make a film, so if I had to be a Saturday in Paris, you know what I mean, and I was already in LA, so I flew to Paris and I flew back, and now I'm here, talking, I'm oh my god, man. But I'm doing it because I want to show and share this movie with you guys or something, so if I would be about boundaries and stuff like that, it's always difficult navigating. And that's why, again, and I love media, for me, to hear you talk about the coaching and your approach to it or something, because, it makes me almost feel safe or something. And, and that's the impact that a good coach, can have. And the importance of it, and at the same time also, where I say, I mean, in a weird way, an athlete should be free, because that's innocence. It shouldn't be bothered with putting limits or something like that or something like that. Sometimes, when you go too far or something like that. Just to say that, I guess there's not that much difference between an athlete or just me really wanting to make a movie or something. Sometimes you have a drive, you have an ambition, and where do you go?
Yeah. I was going to ask you something, but were you going to say something first?
No, I just wanted to say also that's amazing that you raised the problem. As you said, it's not to point fingers at tennis, but the environment in tennis is very dangerous because adults are with children and it's a lot of time one-on-one. So we have to, and I have a tennis academy, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's a discussion I have with my team all the time. how to provide the safest, because 100% safe it's impossible, but the safest possible environment to prevent this kind of drama, because it's a drama to happen. And I think the movie shows really well how these things can happen.
Yeah.
Without even saying it, which is a performance, by the way.
But to go on that, for example, it's one thing, for example, if we go into safeguardship or something that it's preferable to not be one-on-one. And it's, for example, like, and that was really nice to go into, you know, like this whole concept, because I could apply these rules and also like this direct my movie in that way, and you make sure that Tessa and all the other kids were safe.
Tessa's the lead actress.
Yes, she's the lead actress, and that's one of the rules. For example, like I said, like I never want to be alone with her. Of course, like it might happen, like you know, I guess like 2 or 3 times, but I was like, I don't want to be alone with her because I know in a way that I have to kind of like, you know, like I will be the director, and I want to create always for her the possibility to say no. And then it's like, you know, whether it's because she's with other kids or there is another actor or somebody from production or something, you know, like it's always like creating a dialogue or something. And it really for me it was applied in a very stupid way. It was like, you know, like these children need to be always feel free to ask, can I go to the bathroom? And you know, like it's like, you know, if they don't dare to ask it to me, then there's somebody else that they can ask it to. And that's, for example, like yeah, it demands also like a bit like, you know, like, for example now with traveling or something, where I also say like I'm not traveling alone with Tessa. I don't want to do that. But we have it's not again like, you know, like I am not trustworthy, but it's almost like because I am trustworthy, I am applying that rule, and I like that as well because it's not only protecting her, but it's also protecting me.
Yes.
In that way. I don't have like that single responsibility about the well-being of Tessa because I share it with somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? And so that was so nice also again to be in that world of sports and really like invest in what is healthy coaching, because you know I was able to direct this, you know, like fairly, you know, dramatic movie in a very undramatic way, very hands-on, and where, you know, like all the children, you know, had the best summer camp, let's put it like this, and are not all like deeply troubled walking out of it.
Actually, Patrick, I was going to ask, what are some of the ways that people can help advocate for the safety of players?
We're talking especially about the ones that are young, because they're much more vulnerable. As I said, there is a relationship between the coach or the other people, because there's also fitness coaches, physiotherapists. There are also teachers at school, because in a tennis academy you have all those people, so a lot of adults that are on a day-to-day in touch with children and who have a dominant position and who create also a relationship. And in a sport where there is a lot of pressure, a lot of emotion, where the coach is also under pressure, so there is kind of an environment that is highly dangerous. So it's very important that all the people, and I'm one of those who are in charge of places where you have all those people working together, because we are working, everybody's working, the children are working and the adults are working, to think about how again to create the safest possible environment. And it's our responsibility, as there is not really a law that is extremely clear on the subject. Which surprises me, to be honest. I think, especially you know, when I started my tennis career, I was 26 years old. Anyone can do it if he wants tomorrow. I think it's important that there are guidelines that you can't cross. So again, the risk that something happens is as low as possible.
And I love that the scenes where she talks to the other players, like you actually really see her start to come out of her shell. I think that's so important to show that she's not alone. You know, the whole cast is fantastic, honestly.
Yeah, but she's not alone. But I also want to, in a way, show that. And again, like when we talk about safe guarding, then it's not like this here. You know, like her silence goes to even like another level or something, you know, like, but I also think, you know, like it starts actually by talking about little things in that way. It starts actually like, you know, with, you know, do they feel free to ask, can I go to the bathroom? Because it, you know, like they don't dare, you know, actually like ask a question, then, you know, like, yeah, it's all become extremely difficult to even put like really boundaries. But to say that, sorry,
It's okay.
to come back, like, to create a conversation in that way, it's important. But I also wanted to show that abuse is not like how do you say, like, that in a way, like, you can take the aggressor out of the situation.
Yeah.
But, you know, the abuse and the abusive, oppressive system, even of, you know, like the institution of Les Hirondelles, is still there.
Yeah.
And that was also important to show in that way, because, you know, it's like, it's again, we are always like, I don't know, like empowering victims, you know, like to advocate and put, you know, like talk about it and do this and this and this, but, you know, it's an extremely lonely position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there I'm saying, like, you know, like I think like little by little there is an evolution going on, and I feel that in that way, like, it's not only the story of an empowerment of a victim, but also around like a world around her who little by little learns how to sit in with that silence and to start listening to it. But in the beginning, they have no clue, and they, you know, like, instead of like taking her out, the only thing what they do is like pushing her back in.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do audience questions because there's a reception upstairs, and you can speak to everyone. Please join us on the second floor. Thank you for being a great audience, and again, congratulations on being great. Thank you so much.